Alright, aha ayo TV. Ever saw some go so like na mo share videos ne ede amam. Eya mo ankasa mo de share very good matter me bejo so de na wan kasa wani tu ase. Ensama ede akote ewo ye my Ghana any wi ase afa ne nyina na me de bi ebedum. Na eba ne eye abonye DC case ya na say na chese okopiem ewo eye court. Na eye afenyoma ke awocheso ye minority leader ono na ye lawyer edema abronye DC na isim se me omokopiem e wo court ne omo ama eye abronye DC anase eye afenyoma ke mpo ankasa na chese judge ne se ono die omfa emra enhye sem emfa judge na emum eye animal story bi book bi a yese animal kingdom or animal story na chese eno en wojia so edi ebua asem na eno ene chese NDC lawyers for bi abamonte so ready nsem bi abetuja isim say NDC egu but we have good people as still no more NDC amayukon match say umonso abamonte so chese nipa even kwa or threat someone life for the majano en woni na mo na nya obi a omo some speech keke ena mode na ibakod ebusi ansam na ayebuja yenkwan na yenkotie mu nchemu bi embade ba ya ka chem na ya to aso ede amam.
On the issue of the arrest of party functionaries, I think that I agree with you totally that the decision of the trial court judge, especially in the Abronya case, defies every logic and every legal principles that I have come in as a young lawyer. That point must be made. That decision, when I read it last night, I was embarrassed by that decision, especially as a government spokesperson. I simply it didn't just sit well with me. I tried to look for justification behind such a decision, but I simply couldn't. But this is why I disagree with leader. Many of you in your social studies class, you know the difference when it comes to separation of powers and the different arms of government. The judiciary is on its own. The executive is on its own. The legislature is on its own. And this government promised a reset. It may be difficult for many of you to agree that we are not interfering when it comes to the functions of the judiciary. But I can tell you with all sincerity and certainty, based on where I sit, that we are doing everything within our power not to interfere when it comes to the functions of the judiciary and how they go about their judgments. And so this judgment that was released yesterday is nothing but a poor decision emanating from one of our arms of government, which is the judiciary. The very reason why the National Democratic Congress, under His Excellency President John Evans Atta Mills, made a promise in opposition to reset the judiciary. And if you read the judgment fully, you see, we are having to deal with the effects of the bad political interventions of the last regime. In 8 months, we may not be able to cure all that, but we are doing our best. And this judgment is one of the effects of the last 8 years. If you read the judgment, the same judge alluded to the fact that in 2023, he remanded an NDC activist for insulting Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as president of the Republic of Ghana. That same judge. And many of us in the NDC then condemned him for that action. It is that same judge who remanded the Woodmeat presenter. I'm sure you guys have read it. So in his mind, what he did, and he was hailed under Nana Addo, he can be forgiven to think that this government will also hail him. So when I read the judgment, I saw it more as self-serving agenda to force down a consistency narrative down our throats to defend. And that is not why the NDC won power. The NDC did not win power to continue the perpetuation of illegality as far as our law courts are concerned. So my dear brothers and sisters, like leader said, the judgment is bad, but when you read it or you hear them make commentary about it in the media, remind them that these are still the negative legacies of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
That's fair enough.
Today, if you are a political opponent and you are not careful, you get arrested for criticizing the government. They say causing fear and panic. These are the things that politicians take for granted when they get power. And in the end, before they realize it's too late to recover. Yesterday I was sat in court. I brought the ruling of the judge. I was the lead counsel for Abronye. And because we are in an academic environment, though you are not lawyers, I want you to just Google after here the case of Tagore versus the Republic. It's a court of appeal decision. Tagore. It was Dr. Ayeni who did that case on appeal, where the court of appeal said that the fact that a case gains notoriety in public space, it doesn't whittle down the requirement to meet all the ingredients to be proven to find the person guilty. And that the prosecution must lead evidence. So you hear of a matter, it's being discussed on social media, and we think it's sufficient, the person is guilty. Tagore was freed by the Court of Appeal on those cocaine-related charges because the Court of Appeal felt that prosecution could not do a good job. So if somebody is alleged to have committed an offense, what the police is supposed to do is to have all the patience to investigate and follow due process. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we get impatient, but the best way to sustain democracy is to ensure that institutions work, and they work for the good of all. So yesterday, a judge receives Abonye in his court. Earlier in the week, the police go to him. The prosecutor says to the judge, I want you to remand him till Friday. Then he also granted. Yesterday we were in court. This is what the judge said. Listen to him. He's a judge. Listen to him. He says, quote, accused person before the court is facing 2 charges of misdemeanor. Misdemeanor is a lesser offense, an offense that means nothing, really. If you are convicted, it's a fine, then you go home. This is important. He said, however, in this instant case, the court will not look at only the charges being misdemeanor, but will extend it to the position of the IGP to the country. That is the head of the police service. The words which came from the accused person is likely to put the security of the nation into disrepute. Then he goes further to worsen the matter. He says, it is always said that all persons are equal equal persons, but in practice, it is not so. Then he quotes George Orwell's satire, The Animal Farm. One of the commandments is that all men are equal, but some are equal than others. Translated into this case, all men are equal, but some are more equal than others. This is what the judge said. To remand Abronye into custody again. If you are a judge and you're remanding somebody into custody, what you are basically saying is that if the person is granted bail, he may not come to court for trial, or he would interfere in the investigation. The judge did not say this in his ruling. He says that the matter involves IGP. And all men are not the same. So if you are involved in a matter with somebody who is considered a big person in society, you go to jail. Such a dangerous precedent. If we don't talk about it, where would be our democracy? And ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to have been part of ECOWAS Parliament. I have roamed through the sub-region. Ghana stands tall, but we can make it better.